That's all right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
Commissioner
much.
Layton. We are live and recording.
Thank you, Troy. And our thanks for all of the citizens here and for your patience with our previous hearing. I'm sorry that it ran a little bit over, but we'll try to move ahead and catch up on some time here. So I'll go ahead and call to order our Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting and Public Hearing for Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. If you'll all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, thank you. Attorney Garcia, do we have certification of the agenda today?
You do, sir. The County Attorney's Office reviewed all items on the agenda. You have appropriate jurisdiction over these matters, and where appropriate or necessary, posting has been made.
Thank you. And do any commissioners have disclosures for items on this agenda today?
No, sir.
No.
Okay, and neither do I. So with that, we'll move on to item 2A, which is our first land use meeting agenda item, Fields Filing 1 Final Plat, Project File SB 2024-041. Heather Scott presenting for staff. Hi, Heather.
Good afternoon. Heather Scott representing Planning Services. The item before you is the Fields Filing 1 Final Plat, Project Number SB 2024-041. Brad Dixon with Toll Brothers, property owner, and Kevin Lovelace with LJA Engineering are here on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is requesting approval of a final plat to subdivide 282 acres into 118 lots and 14 tracts. The lots range in size from 3/4 of an acre to 2.125 acres in size, 14 tracts for utility easements and drainage purposes. 37.99 acres of right-of-way will be dedicated for future widening of Hilltop Road, improvements to the intersection of Hilltop Road and Singing Hills Road, and to construct 5 public roads within the site. The intent of the final plat process is to provide for the review of final engineering plans, the subdivision improvements agreement, public dedications, and other legal agreements. The final plat process begins with the submittal of an application. Following a review period by referral agencies and the public and acceptance of engineered plans, the request is considered before the board at a public meeting. No public comments were received on this final plat. Referral comments were standard in nature and have been resolved with various changes to engineering plans and the plat exhibit. The site identified by the red star is located in the northeast portion of the county, northeast of Hilltop Road and north of Singing Hills Road. The site shown in the red outline is zoned estate residential. Zooming in on the aerial, the site is northeast of Hilltop Road, adjacent to Tallman Gulch subdivision. Fields Filing 2 is southwest of Hilltop Road, and Fields Filing 3 is abutting to the east. The property was zoned agricultural with the inception of zoning in Douglas County in 1955. The property owner rezoned to estate residential in March of 2022. The Fields preliminary plan was approved on November 7th, 2023 for a total of 130 lots on 638.71 acres. The project is served by Parker Water and Sand District. The board approved the preliminary plan and the request to pay school fees at the time of the first building permit. There are 3 final plats proposed within the Fields preliminary plan, Fields Filings 1, 2, and 3. Filing 2 was recently approved for 5 10-acre lots southwest of Hilltop Road. Fields Filing 3 is for the proposed 35-acre or greater lots on the east side of the preliminary plan. This is the second application to be heard by the board. This exhibit shows the proposed subdivision designed per the ER zone district standards. The overall density for Fields preliminary project was reduced from the potential of 255 lots allowed in the ER zone district down to a total of 130. This filing has smaller lot sizes, so they stay out of drainage ways and they will be served by public water and sewer services. Lot sizes range from 0.7 to 2.2 acres each. There are 20 lots that are over 1.5 acres, and they are located on the western and southern portion of the site as a visual buffer. The lots transition down to just over an acre, with the smaller lots located in the middle of the project. Access for the clustered lots is proposed from 2 points along Hilltop Road, one along the northwest, and one at the future roundabout of Hilltop and Singing Hills Road. A temporary access point will be provided until the roundabout is constructed. 14 tracks are for open space, utility, and drainage purposes, and the county will accept both the general purpose utility easements and secondary drainage easements. There is a typo in the staff report, section 4, physical site characteristics, subsection D, drainage and erosion, claiming that the Metro District will own and maintain the detention pond in Tract A. This should state that the Metro District will own and maintain the drainage in Tract M. A sanitary lift sewer was approved in Tract A by the Planning Commission in December of 2024. This distinction is accurately reflected throughout the rest of the staff report. The county did accept additional right-of-way for future improvements to Hilltop Road by separate instrument. Following are site photos. This view looks north from Hilltop Road. This view looks northwest from Singing Hills Road. This view looks east from the Tallman Gulch neighborhood. Before you are the approval standards applicable for final plat. Public Works Engineering has approved all required studies, reports, and construction plans for the final plat, and the SIA has been approved. Staff has evaluated the final plat in accordance with Article 5 of the Douglas County subdivision resolution. Should the Board of County Commissioners find the approval standards for the final plat are met, the following proposed conditions should be considered for inclusion into the motion. Condition number 1, prior to plat recordation, the applicant shall pay $429,238.48 to Douglas County for cash in lieu of parkland dedication. Condition number 2, prior to the first building permit, the applicant shall pay $215,185.09 to the Douglas County School District for cash in lieu of school land dedication. There is a technical error in the staff report, as the BCC approved paying the school fees at the time of the first residential building permit, not prior to recordation. Condition number 3, during construction activity within the development, the applicants, their successors, and assigns shall take all reasonable care to watch for historic resources, paleontological resources, and other cultural history resources, and shall immediately notify Douglas County in the event of such discovery. Condition number 4, prior to the recordation of the final plat, technical corrections to the plat exhibit shall be made to the satisfaction of Douglas County. And condition number 5, all statements and commitments made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the public meeting and or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving this application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all commitments and promises. Section 504.06 of the subdivision resolution sets forth the parameters for the board's determination on final plat requests, as noted on this slide. This concludes staff's presentation. I am available to answer questions regarding the staff report. Otherwise, Brad Dixon and Kevin Lovelace are here to answer any questions you may have on this proposal. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Heather. Any questions for staff?
No, Chair, you and I kind of gone soup to nuts on this one with the development team. I have no questions.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Teal. Commissioner Van Winkle?
No, sir.
Okay. I have no questions either. Does the applicant have a presentation for us?
They do.
Okay. We'll welcome the applicant up. If you want to just state your name and where you're from, we'd appreciate it.
Good afternoon. My name is Brad Dixon. I'm Entitlements Director for Toll Brothers here in Colorado. Address is 7100 East Bellevue Avenue, Greenwood Village here in Colorado. First, I want to thank staff for their thoughtful review of the application. I'm not sure I have much to add because they do such a good job. I do work with many municipalities throughout the state, and Douglas County is unique. You guys take the time to understand the projects, and it is much appreciated. I'm going to very briefly run through some of the highlights of the application. This is, again, for filing 1, the 118 clustered estate residential lots. And as Heather mentioned, filing 2 was recently before you last month. Wanted to start with just a quick overview of, these are, I'm going to run through kind of our active development jobs in Douglas County, active home building jobs. We're no stranger to Douglas County. Allison Ranch was a community that we opened in 2021 with 343 home sites. We just dug our last foundation out there last month. Toll Brothers at Cherry Creek Trail recently started selling in January of this year, 102 home sites. It's kind of a unique, efficient ranch-style community that we worked through the entitlements here with you guys as well. And then Piney Lake Trails, I believe was the entitlement name, but Piney Trails Estates, up in the northeast corner, 176 lots, similar great buffers of open space to larger estate lots as well. And then finally, we have Fields that we're here to talk about today. This one is perhaps the most excited that we are. Just the ability to bring something new to Douglas County, larger lots, and we're going to bring all new product that we've never built anywhere in the country before. So very excited about that. As mentioned, the site was rezoned from agricultural 1 to estate residential in 2022, and then their final plat is in close conformance with the preliminary plan that was approved November of 2023. It's a quick overlay of the preliminary plan, and then we put the final plat over it just to show how close it does adhere to it. The intent with the lot sizing, the feathering of the densities from the outside to the in is held through here. The respect to the drainage ways and the preservation of as much natural terrain and space as possible is carried through with the final plat application. The lot sizes are conforming, as Heather had mentioned, from 0.7 acres to over 2 acres. And then the final plat, again, something else I think is worthwhile noting is historically there was agriculture on this site, and the lotting in the final plat closely adheres to the land that was used for those historical harvesting. It pays respect to, again, the sensitive areas of the property. And then the lots themselves, while ranging from 0.7 to over the 2 acres, there aren't any variances we would seek at building permit to get the product on here. These are very large lots for your typical home builder. The only other thing I think is worth pointing out, there were some photos shown, but everything does drain to the northwest, so the primary viewpoints from Singing Hills and Hilltop Road, everything will be sloping away from there. So I think the visual impact will be mitigated by the natural terrain and some of the grading that we're doing towards the ultimate outfalls in the northwest there. Just quickly run through utilities. Parker Water and Sanitation District will be the water and sewer provider. Core for electric and Excel for gas. Core and Excel have facilities in the existing area that will be extended through, or to and through the site. Parker Water, the stars on the image here show the 3 points of connection we'll have into their existing system. And then we do run that off-site force main from our lift station that's proposed. Went through the L&E application before Planning Commission here in Douglas County in December of this past year, and then it was recently approved by the Cherry Creek Water Authority and also submitted to CDPHE just as of yesterday, so that's well underway as well. And then approval criteria, I don't think I have anything else to necessarily add beyond the staff conformance with it. It is a balance, and we are carrying forward the preliminary plan. All the design elements, the goals are adhered to as previously addressed. And water and sanitary, obviously Parker Water, a reliable provider of that for us. And then I don't think we're going to have any special exceptions. Drainage improvements, transportation improvements all conform with regional and certainly with the staff and referral reviews. And then soils, we will drill every lot prior to the issuance of any building permits. So in conclusion, we're excited to bring this one forward and appreciate, again, staff's time and consideration of our proposal and bringing it forward today.
Great, thank you so much for that presentation. Any questions for the applicant?
No questions.
None for me.
And I don't have any either. With that, I'll open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment with regard to this item? Okay, not seeing any citizen comment in the room. Any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay. And then for the applicant, are you okay with all the conditions as presented?
Yes.
You are, okay. So with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion or a motion.
Mr. Chair, if I may. Heather, I wonder if you could please bring back up, take us from the approval standards to the first page of the conditions, please. Thank you. Hey, colleagues, if you'll notice that condition number 1, we were actually talking about another project earlier in the week that is about that amount, that this cash in lieu could fund. And we were talking, and I apologize to the county attorney for probably making a little extra record here, but we were talking about with that project for lighting fields for football, or for football fields throughout the county at school sites, we could consider a process whereby these cash in lieu payments from these developments could subsidize something like that, because I just couldn't help but notice that's a really close number to the number that we were debating. And colleagues, you did say maybe it would not be appropriate to do that one project without some form of being able to consider other projects. And, you know, Chair, you and I have been doing this for a little while. Just kind of struck me that, boy, these keep coming up with these development deals that want to give cash in lieu. So I just wanted to point that out and make a little extra record just to make our county attorney's life a little easier.
Thank you for that point, Commissioner. Commissioner Van Winkle? Okay. Anything additional from the board? We prepared to make a motion?
Chair, if it please, well, first and foremost, again, the chairman and I, we've gone through this one. I think we've seen this one from the very beginning to the final plat being brought before us by Toll Brothers. Obviously, the development team that was working with the county earlier had a period where they did solicit further guidance after that first meeting. We do appreciate that opportunity. Of course, this is a land use hearing. This is your land use rights that are being adjudicated in these situations. Just for future reference, I think this is a great example of a very successful development process that did start in a much less peaceful manner when it began. So with that said, Commissioners, I do have a motion to approve Fields Filing 1, final plat, because it does meet all the approval criteria with 5 conditions as presented. Project file is SB 2024-041, and I apologize, Chair, has the applicant been asked if they accept the conditions?
They have.
Okay, excellent.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries unanimously. Thank you. You bet, and congratulations.
Thank you.
So with that, we'll move on to our public hearing agenda items. The first is item 3A, adoption of ordinance O-025-001, an ordinance for the regulation of traffic and parking, repealing all ordinances and resolutions in conflict therewith, and providing penalties for violations thereof. Second and final reading. And Commander Alan Stanton, you just manifested out of nowhere. That was amazing.
I know, scary. Commissioners,
That
thank
was
you for
great.
seeing us today. Commander Alan Stanton, Douglas County Sheriff's Office Patrol Division. To my left, I have Sergeant Trace Warwick, who is one of our supervisors and sergeants of the traffic unit. And so today, before the Commissioners, we are asking for adoption on second reading of ordinance O-025-001, an ordinance for the regulation of traffic and parking here in Douglas County Unincorporated. Again, to make this very quick, because we did do a presentation on April 8th, so I don't want to go over that again. However, just a quick review. Again, information that legislation changed in 2022, which left some gaps in legislation to deal with parking restrictions for commercial vehicles and recreational vehicles. That gap has caused safety issues within our community, and so the Sheriff's Office, through calls for service, through complaints that have come in, we're kind of tasked with what can we do to make this better, and this is where we add 2 sections to our current ordinance that will address specifically commercial vehicles and recreational vehicles. They are separated for a reason because they are different entities, and again, the Sheriff's Office is looking at safety within our communities and the ability to enforce parking or restrictions to parking when appropriate. The Sheriff's Office, and through this ordinance, is using Douglas County's master plan when it comes down to using the definition of highly urbanized areas for this to occur, because these roadways that are built within the subdivisions clearly have issues when you have large vehicles that are parked there that cause safety issues for those that live there and the pedestrians that are walking the sidewalks, et cetera. Again, I don't want to re-go over what was presented on the 8th, so there's no changes with that, and I would open that up to any questions from the board.
Thank you so much for that. Any questions for the commander?
Hey, Commander Stanton,
Yes.
can you please clarify which is which? Just from title, I'm not getting the difference between the one for commercial vehicles, one for recreational vehicles.
So both sections are added in Part 3 of the ordinance. Section 3 is specifically to commercial, and that is off a tier process on the violations, and after a third or the fourth subsequent violation, that's a mandatory court appearance, and it states the prohibitions, and in this case, the violations if a person is cited. Section 4 in that same section deals with specifically the recreational vehicles. That is treated differently. That's based off of a recreational vehicle by definition. It's stated in the ordinance, and then it also talks about over 72 hours within a 7-day period would be a violation under that statute, under that ordinance.
Thank you, sir.
And if I could, Mr. Chair, so we'll make 2 motions, I believe. The first one will be for the oversized vehicles, and the second will be for recreational vehicles over 72 hours. If you could walk us through the assessment of penalties.
Absolutely.
For one versus the other.
Absolutely. So under the commercial, specifically because any commercial vehicle parked in a residential area, in this case a highly populated or urbanized, it's automatically a violation when it's parked there. Again, the Sheriff's Office is looking for education and voluntary compliance. I think that's important on all of that, but sometimes enforcement is necessary. So with that, it is a tiered approach. The first violation, 1 through 3, is a $100 fine plus surcharges and fees. If that person still decides to not move that vehicle, it then changes to a mandatory court appearance where they're required to go before a judge and have a maximum up to $1,000 in fine plus court costs and fees. We do hope that there's compliance. Again, this is not an issue of a fund source. It's an issue of safety within the communities, and that's how that one is broke down. Specifically for the commercial vehicles, it is also a tiered approach. where the first violation, again, if it's there more than 72 hours within a 7-day time frame, because we do understand people do park those in residential areas, and that is okay, but within the matter of not long-term parking. It is a $25 first offense, $50 second offense, and a $100 third offense. And any subsequent violation would be $100, and these are all within a calendar year or 365 days.
And correct me if I'm wrong, would there be, before that $25 ticket is issued for the person that's parking their boat for a long period of time or large recreational vehicle or something, is there some sort of warning or?
Absolutely. Again, we're looking for voluntary compliance. The theory is we talk with the residents or the owner of the property and ask them to move that. And quite frankly, 99% of the people will do that. And that is our first goal. It's the person who decides not to move the vehicle or decides to not follow what the ordinances set, then that person would be cited. And it's the same thing for commercial vehicles. Although parking that vehicle, there are some exemptions that are there for emergency vehicles, and critical infrastructure vehicles that are working on water and sewer, that kind of thing. Or, we want to make sure those vehicles can be parked there. Again, if we can talk to that semi-truck driver, we had semi-trucks parking in residential areas, believe it or not. If they'll move that after we give them the warning, that's great. But it's when they continue to park those vehicles in areas that are not meant for that, that's when the education turns into enforcement. But yes, education, voluntary compliance is always the first option.
I very much appreciate that. Thank you, sir. That's my only questions.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Van Winkle. Any additional questions?
Negative.
Okay. Seeing none, I will open it up for any citizen comment. Any citizen comment with regard to this item? Yes. Welcome, sir, and if you want to just state your name and where you're from, we'd appreciate it.
Tom McHenry, Stonegate Village. I'm also on the board of directors there. I'm here in support of this particular ordinance. We had a covenant since the beginning of Stonegate Village, since 1992, that was very similar to this. And as I'm sure you're aware, in the last 2 years, we couldn't enforce it. The reason our covenant was put in place was for 2 reasons, both of them regarding safety. I don't care how young, how often a parent with a 6, 7, 8-year-old reminds the children to look both ways before they go out in the street. Well, when a baseball or basketball goes out in the street, the kids' brains freeze and they just run right out in the street after it. We figured if we had some sort of a covenant like this ordinance, people driving in the trucks and cars by the houses would see this and avoid hitting the kid. The second one is a safety issue regarding fire. We have some small cul-de-sacs in our community, and we were concerned if someone parked a semi in one of these small cul-de-sacs and there was a fire, some of the fire trucks, and especially the ladders, wouldn't be able to move around and take care of business. We had no problems with this covenant in the past, and would appreciate your support with your ordinance. Thank you very much for your time.
Sir, thank you for being here with us. Any additional citizen comment? Okay, not seeing any additional citizen comment in the room. Any citizen comment online?
Thank you, sir. No online comment.
Okay, so with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
Chair, it's obviously I was a dissenting vote on this matter last month in our meeting. I've since had an opportunity to speak with members of our community, and they've kind of shared with me some of their concerns. And actually, I think I do feel like I have the information needed to feel like this is a reasonable accommodation when it comes to commercial vehicles. I can't say that I'm going to say the same thing for the second part of this. However, I do have a motion to approve an amendment to ordinance number O as in Oscar, 025001, an ordinance for the regulation of traffic and parking, repealing all ordinances and resolutions in conflict therewith, and providing penalties for violation thereof, to provide greater regulation of oversized vehicles on second and final reading.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries unanimously.
And Mr. Chair, if I could take us to the second part of the motion, which refers to recreational vehicles. And we did have testimony from, on first reading, especially from Highlands Ranch and I believe Sterling Ranch as well, in favor of this. It's not crafted to be fully county-wide, but just for those communities like we heard from just in the public testimony now, that have asked for this, because it was really the way of life for the citizens of Highlands Ranch and Stonegate and other communities since their inception, since the 80s in Highlands Ranch. And most members of the community are quite surprised when they find that the state legislature has reached down with their infinite wisdom and determined what their regulation should be and how they should change. So this is simply us, if the motion were to pass, of giving that power back to those communities that the state legislature took away. So therefore, Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion, and I move to approve an amendment to ordinance number 025001, an ordinance for the regulation of traffic and parking, repealing all ordinances and resolutions in conflict therewith, and providing penalties for violation thereof, to provide greater regulation of recreational vehicles on second and final reading.
Yeah, I'm not going to vote for this one. I still maintain that if there should be a place where recreational vehicle parking should be at the owner's desire, it is in unincorporated Douglas County. I do realize the work that's been done. I think Commander Stanton, you and your team have done a great job zeroing in on those communities that, like you said, Commissioner, want and desire to have this element. I'm still going to vote against it on principle, but I do recognize all the work that was done to limit its impact throughout the county, and particularly into the rural areas, where I still maintain that's why people move there, so that they can have that kind of liberty in their lives. But due to the work that was done, I do believe it is worthy of second, and give it.
Thank you, Commissioners. We have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? I would just add, I tend to agree with both of you. And unfortunately, we're in this position because of state overreach. And we find ourselves in this position often because of state overreach. And again, this just emphasizes our need for local control. And, things were great before. And now we're scrambling to try to piece this together because of that. State action. So it isn't perfect, and George, I recognize your concerns and also respect that you have had many community meetings where you've talked to individuals about this issue and have had a chance to hear from them and think about it. So nicely done on that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
And that passes 2-1. Yes, sir. Sorry? Yes.
Oh, yeah, I gave a second.
Yes, Commissioner Teal,
You
courtesy
guys
second.
did enough work. I figured that deserved a second. You gotta recognize the work that's done. Good job, Commander.
Yes, and our tradition as a county is as a courtesy to second motions, though it is not required. So thank you, Commissioner, for doing that. Thank you, Commander. Thank you both. So with that, we're going to move on to item B, which is Sturby Reserve lots 7 through 11 rezoning, project file ZR 2024-008. Trevor Bedford presenting for staff. Hi, Trevor.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Trevor Bedford, representing Planning Services. Before you is a request to rezone property known as Struby Resurvey, lots 7 through 11, from general industrial to light industrial. The project number is ZR 2024-008. The request is to rezone approximately 4.45 acres from general industrial to light industrial. The intent of the rezoning process is to provide a process to amend the official zone district map with regard to the area of any zoning district in accordance with Section 2467-101 of the Colorado Revised Statutes. The rezoning process begins with the submittal of an application. Following a review period by referral agencies and public, notice is given for public hearings before the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. One abutting property owner commented on the site operations and expressed that he was pleased to know the property owner is working with the county. The Planning Commission heard the rezoning request at its April 7th hearing and voted unanimously to recommend approval to the board. The project is located in the northwest portion of the county, west of Highway 85. This is within the primary urban area as identified by the Douglas County Comprehensive Master Plan map. This map shows the zoning in the area. The property abuts light industrial to the east, general industrial to the north and west, and agricultural 1, the Highline Canal, to the south. This aerial photograph depicts the project site outlined in red. The site is currently zoned general industrial, and the property to the east is zoned light industrial. Several structures along the eastern property line do not meet the required 25-foot setback between general industrial and light industrial properties. There is no required setback between two light industrial properties. This rezoning, if approved, would resolve setback issues along the eastern property line and would be consistent with the existing use as a landscaping company. The property owner has submitted a concurrent site improvement plan to document site improvements and to ensure the site is in compliance with the Douglas County zoning resolution. This is the proposed rezoning exhibit. The applicant intends to keep the existing uses on site and to bring the site into compliance with the Douglas County zoning resolution with the concurrent site improvement plan. This is a view of the site from Highland Circle facing northeast. This is a view of the site from Highland Circle facing southeast. The approval standards for a rezoning request are set forth in Section 25 and listed on this slide. Staff's assessment of the approval standards is discussed in detail on pages 4 and 5 of the staff report. The rezoning process is described in Zoning Resolution Section 2405. The board shall evaluate the rezoning request, staff report, referral agency comments, applicant responses, the planning commission recommendation, and public comment and testimony, and shall approve with conditions, continue, table for further study, remand to the planning commission, or deny the rezoning request. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available to take questions on the staff report if the board wishes. Otherwise, the applicant is here.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for that presentation. Any questions for staff?
No questions.
Okay, I don't have any questions at this time. We'll invite the applicant to come up and make their presentation. Welcome, and if you want to just state your name and where you're from.
Thank you, Commissioners. Jim Lynch, and I'm from here.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Mark Skelski. I'm representing Samuel Engineering.
Okay, great.
Don't have a presentation prepared for you folks. Just want to request that the zoning gets approved. We did meet with the most of you a couple weeks back and stated the case that yes, the couple of buildings that were there before Mr. Lynch brought the property, now they are out of compliance with the setbacks. So bringing this with the light industrial will bring us back into compliance. And also that'll provide so that we can do site improvement plan and upgrade the drainage facilities and upgrade some of the sites on the property.
Okay, great. Any questions for the applicant?
No questions.
I don't have any either, so this one is pretty straightforward. I will open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment in the room with regard to this item? Okay, seeing none in the room. Troy, do we have any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, so with that, I will close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
In reviewing this proposal, I mean, this sort of seemed a bit like the easy button in order to deal with this matter, just because it sounds like their use is compliant with the requested zoning. It wasn't, the old use wasn't out of compliance, but the setbacks that you guys had, that looked like it was going to be problematic. So I kind of like these kind of solutions, commissioners, when staff can bring forward these opportunities to, of course, demand that the business and the landowner go through the process as appropriate, but set the land in an appropriate manner to its use and to its owners' operations. I just need a reminder on the conditions, please.
And we have yet to ask the applicant that, are you okay with all the conditions as presented?
We do not have conditions on a rezoning.
Okay.
Okay.
That's probably why they were missing.
Okay.
That's probably
Yeah,
why
and
I was happy to agree to them.
There we go. In our motion log, it does indicate a motion with the approval criteria with the conditions as presented, but I'm hearing from staff, no conditions.
That is correct. There are no conditions on this application.
Okay, all right.
Commissioners, I'd just like to be in right standing. That's why I'm here. So I'd just like to get the monkey off my back.
There you go, great. Appreciate your favorite type of citizen. That's great, good for you.
Absolutely. Kind of business owner we like. So without further ado, if it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve Struby Resurvey lots 711 rezoning because it does meet all the approval criteria standards and there are no conditions that were presented. Project file is ZR 2024-008.
I will second the motion and thank the business. Here we are. I will second the motion and thank you for being here today. Thank you for running a business in beautiful Douglas County.
Great, so we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? I would just say for the record that I agree with my colleagues and I believe the legal criteria has been met, so I will be in favor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So with that, we'll move to our final item for public hearing, which is item 3C, a resolution supplementing the 2025 adopted budget for the County of Douglas, Colorado, to recognize new revenues received since annual budget adoption, appropriate restricted, committed, assigned, and unassigned fund balances in the amount of 32 million. I think is that decimal off? Is it 32 million, Kim?
Yep,
Okay, $32,692,346.
All righty, Commissioners. Kim Hirsch for Budget Staff. I'd like to formally present the second supplemental for fiscal year 25. The total amount of the request for your consideration today is $32,692,346. More specifically, the supplemental request will be increasing appropriations for new revenues that have been received since the formal budget adoption, allow for unspent project dollars to be carried forward into the current fiscal year, and appropriate spending authority for new 2025 initiatives. A total of 10 funds across Douglas County are being impacted with the current request as submitted. A detailed explanation of each of the requests have been included in the board's packet, along with the fund summaries which illustrate how each fund can absorb the additional spending authority as requested. With the board's approval, this request will take the Douglas County amended budget to $657,895,721. This concludes my formal presentation. However, if any of you would like to discuss any line in more detail, I would be happy to do that with you.
Kim, thanks for that. Any questions for staff?
No questions. I went through it, and my brain did hurt afterwards, at least a little bit. But no, I thought, once again, I appreciate the presentation in the report. I have no questions.
Thank you.
Commissioner Van Winkle?
No, sir.
Okay. So Kim, just walk me through this. So specifically, I'm looking at obviously General Fund, Law Enforcement Authority Fund, District Attorney, JD23 Fund, and several others. So help me understand just how will that be handled from a appropriation and restriction standpoint?
Well, I know for the Law Enforcement Authority Fund, it's new revenues. So anytime a new revenue is received, in order to spend that revenue, we have to formally ask the board to appropriate it.
Right.
So that would be the LEA fund. The transfer over to the district attorney fund for the leased vehicles and some additional expenditures that they needed since formal budget adoption. That's where your governmental accounting comes in. I have to transfer it where it was formally adopted in the general fund, transfer it out of there, and then recognize it in the district attorney fund as a new revenue, and then as an expense in order to spend those funds.
Okay. Have any of these dollar amounts already been appropriated, or are there anticipated appropriations for these?
No, these are new.
They're all new.
Yes.
So in terms of going forward with potential spending or potential board priorities associated with these funds, walk us through that process.
For the spending, I'm sorry, of the DA funds?
No, I mean, I'm looking specifically at an additional 19 million for general fund.
Well, how we spend them, I mean, we'll go ahead in December, as you know, we adopt the budget. So a lot of the grants, like this one is hugely impacted by your grants that we have. They're multi-year projects, so those funds, usually they're reimbursable. We will have to go through, carry those revenues back out, and then reappropriate them to be spent as they come in. Anything that is new, for instance, we have in there, if you look at like an IT expenditure for $6.5 million, something like that we had in the fund balance of the general fund. We knew the expense was coming along. So now that the formal request has come before the board, we're asking to appropriate it. So anything like that is taken out of fund balance, but anytime anything new happens, the board has to approve those additional expenditures.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for that. Any additional questions? All right, seeing none, I will open it up for any citizen comment. Any citizen comment with regard to this item, either in the room or online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, so with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion or a motion.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve a resolution supplementing the 2025 adopted budget for the County of Douglas, Colorado, to recognize new revenues received since the annual budget adoption, appropriate, restricted, committed, assigned, and unassigned fund balances in the amount of $32,692,346 even.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Kim. And thank you to budget staff. Appreciate that. So the next land use meeting public hearing will be held on Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 at 2:30 p.m. We are adjourned.